Back in July, I challenged myself to sew 6 makes in 23 days. And let me tell you, it was quite the effort. Did I succeed? Yes. And no. Stay tuned to see how it all went. Hi, I'm Tony. Welcome to Sew Lounge. I got a late start with my July sewing plans, namely because we were into July before I decided to come up with any plans. I had a few paper patterns cut out that I kind of knew I wanted to make, but I had not actually started any sewing as of July 1st. I was actually out of town that weekend doing some fabric shopping for my Japanese fabric haul. So once I got back in town, I kind of came up with the idea that it would be fun to challenge myself to sew 6 makes in 23 days. And I started with those paper patterns that I already had ready to go, and I cut out fabric for 3 of them, got everything together, marked all my pattern pieces, and had them ready to start sewing. I do not sew fast, so thinking that I could even do this in 23 days was quite remarkable and quite the aspiration on my part, because I don't ever sew fast. I've never sewn fast. When I learned to sew in college, I was super slow and I took all kinds of crazy shortcuts. I didn't baste, I didn't press, I just kind of winged it. I didn't transfer markings really well. It was craziness. And then on top of that, I always waited until the last minute to get anything finished and was usually up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning the night before a project was due. So no big surprise that I never got an A in any of my sewing or design classes. Now that I have more time and I'm not being graded, I'm a little bit more meticulous about my sewing. I do baste, I do rip out when I mess something up because I want it to look really nice, because let's face it, I'm the one who's going to be wearing it, and if the seam is messed up or I don't quite have that sleeve in straight, I'm going to know it and it's going to actually drive me crazy. I'm very proud of the fact that I got these 6 garments finished. So for me alone, just getting it done was a huge relief, and I really spent a lot of time sewing. So I'd go to work, come home, sew, and then go to bed, get up the next morning, go back to work, sew. And I did that pretty much for the entire 23 days. I sacrificed a couple of weekends to make sure I could get everything done. And I'm really proud of myself for being able to do that. Now, did everything turn out perfectly? It did not. And today I'm going to show you what I like, what didn't quite work out, and what some of the solutions were for problems that I had. So let's get started. I love this skirt. This was my favorite of the 6 garments that I made. It was super easy to sew. There are only 4 pattern pieces. This is Simplicity 1616. I will leave a link to the pattern in the description below. And I just could not believe how easy it was to put this together. There are no pattern marks to transfer. You just match up the notches and get sewing. And in total, it took me about 2 hours to get this sewn up from start to finish. I used my fruit stripe gum fabric. If you remember the zebra, let me know. And I even got the stripes kind of matched up on the sides. I like the way the waistband turned out. It's a lot of stripes. There is a lot going on, but y'all know I love me some color. And I have lots of different tank tops in all of these colors that I can wear with this. So it's gonna be the perfect summer skirt. Now, the lyocell is super soft and it's lightweight. It's gonna let the air circulate, and I'm sure you wonder what it's gonna look like on. So this is the skirt. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I'm very comfortable with the fit. And just so you know, to put this into perspective, I am 5'5". This is the length on the skirt. I did not add any length or cut any off from the size 14 pattern piece. I just made the standard 5/8 inch hem that then you just kind of roll over and stitch. So that was all standard, and it's a really good length on me. You can always add length if you need more because you're taller, or if you want to make a bigger hem to shorten it a little bit, that is also an option. This pattern does also have some different variations if you want to make more of a knee length version of it, or a shorter in the front, longer in the back kind of skirt. So if you look at the waist, it is a double fold over waistband. It does have a little bit of tummy control if you need that sort of thing like I do. And I am wearing it a little bit low rise. I'm a Gen Xer. I do not wear high-waisted stuff. I like me a good hip hugger. So this is what the skirt looks like. I am very proud of this chevroning that I have going on with the stripes down the side. And it's pretty much everything I wanted in a summer skirt. This is McCall's 8088, and it's another dress that I was really happy with the way it turned out. This was actually the 4th make of the series, and I had sewn the 3 previous knit ones, and I was really excited to get back to some plain weave fabric. Now, this was super easy to sew, and I don't know if it's just because I've been fighting with knits with the first 3 garments, and it just seems so much easier to get it together. But the most complicated thing about this pattern was getting these pleats folded in the right direction. The pattern says to baste them in and then put the dress together. So once I got them folded, because it's just basting, the idea is that you pull them out. That's making them a little bit poofy. I'd like them better when they were flatter, so I think I'm going to go back in and put some stitching in there to hold them in place. But all in all, super happy with this dress. If you watched my 6 makes in 23 days video, you may notice that this skirt is a lot shorter than the one I said I was going to make. When I looked at the pattern length, it was going to be like an ankle length dress in the back, because I was doing the shorter in the front, longer in the back. And that was just gonna be a little bit too long for me. I don't like clothes that long. I mean, maybe if you were going to like a nice evening party or something, that would be acceptable. I'm making this dress to wear for my boyfriend's birthday. I have since found out that it is going to be at his sister's house. So I think this length would just be more appropriate for a house party. I'm gonna wear it with some cute wedge sandals. And it turned out very well. It was very easy to sew. I did make the short version minus the sleeves. I did not want to make sleeves for this. I wanted just kind of I like the way it looks sleeveless. So once you turn it around, it does tie in the back. It is a wrap dress, so it's a little bit looser back here. There aren't any darts or anything. And so you can kind of adjust it accordingly to what is comfortable for you. This tie does come around through the side, and you can see that's just how the whole dress fits together. Now, it does gape a tiny bit at the bust, so I will probably put a little clear snap in there to hold it in place. Let's take a look at it on. So this is the dress on. You can see it is, it's a little gapey up here. I did make this in a size 16 because I wasn't 100% sure on the measurements, and I figured that having a little bit bigger wrap dress to fully wrap would be the way to go. I wasn't sure, but it is actually pretty covering, so it's gonna work out pretty well that when I sit down, it's not gonna like split open, which would be a total disaster. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. It is a little bit gapey, so I think I'm gonna put a little snap here. And then I'm also going to stitch these pleats into place so that that's a little bit smoother through there and it lies a little bit flatter, which I just would like that a lot better, because then it's also gonna put that a little bit flatter through the bust. But these pleats are very flattering if you do have a little bit of a tummy. I'm working on losing weight, but I'm not there yet, to just kind of hide and obscure your midriff area a little bit. And then on the back, there is the bow. Hopefully that is tied and it does not look crazy. You can always let this out a little bit. The beauty of a wrap dress is that if you gain a little bit weight or eat a little bit much more than usual at a meal, you can always let it out a little bit and still be comfortable and still have something that is super cute. So I am happy with the way this turned out. I think it'll be fun to wear. It is lightweight cotton, and it is perfect for summer. This is another dress that I'm super happy with the way it turned out. This is Simplicity 9222. It is a knit dress. It has a longer skirt option and a long sleeve option. I went with the short sleeve because it's summertime, and this fabric is a rayon poly knit. I believe it was made in Italy. It is kind of a brush knit, so it's very, very soft and has a little bit of a fuzzy texture to it. I love the colors, that's why I bought it. So this pattern is also has pleats, which is kind of weird, but these are sewn in. So you can kind of see from the side that there are some little kind of tucks. You fold the pleats in and then stitch them, and then that kind of gives you this little asymmetric gathering kind of across the midriff. Once again, it's good camouflage, and it's very comfortable to wear. There is a dropped waist skirt. I started making this one after the dress we just looked at, and then I kind of had a panic attack when it came to putting in the sleeves, because after I stitched them to gather them, and I gathered them in and then basted them in place to check them out, they were really gathered along this the top of the armhole, and I was really stressing out. So I ripped them out, tried again. I actually ripped one sleeve out 3 times, and I was like, it's time to stop. So that is a good thing to just keep in mind. If you are sewing and you keep messing stuff up, or if you're getting kind of frustrated, it's always a good idea to just put it down, go on to something else. So that's what I did. And then when I came back to it, this was actually what I finished up last. So I had most of the dress made, minus the sleeves, put the sleeves in, put in the hem, and I was done. So this was really a quick finish. It was not a complicated sew. My suggestion for the sleeve is that you match up the notches. Then they have little dots that also match up, and then that whole part down to the bottom seam matches. So the only part you have to stretch is between the 2 dots across the shoulder seam. So I hand basted it into place while I stretched it, and that worked out a lot better. There are a little bit of gathers on this one, and this one's better. So the first time, not quite as awesome, but I'm really happy with the way the neckline turned out. I'm just really happy with this dress. It's gonna be super comfortable. So let's take a look at it on. I love a good knit dress for travel, and this dress totally is perfect for that. But when I modeled it for my sister, she said it was too nice and I should save it for dinner. And I think I might do that and dress it up a little more than I would when I'm traveling. So this is a size 14. It turns out that size 14 knit patterns fit me perfectly, and that's what I need to stick with. I'll tell you how I found that out a little bit later. And the length is the standard length from the pattern. So this is a size 14. The length is just below my knee, I think. I can't tell because I'm standing here, but I think it's just below my knee. The hem is just the turn up twice at 5/8 of an inch and then stitch. So it's very easy to get that going. This dress came together very quickly, minus the sleeves, which I did work out eventually. And I'm happy with it. The pleats are sewn in, so they do provide a little tummy camouflage. So if you have tummy concerns, this is a good dress for that. It helps to make everything look nice and flatter, and it's just super comfortable. So I highly recommend this. It was easy to sew and it looked great. So this dress was the fail. And looking at it, you may not think it looks that bad. You're like, Tony, what do you mean it doesn't look that bad? It's kind of a mess. Where to start with what I like and what I'm proud of doing? I made some really nice armhole finishes on this dress. They're really well done. And I hand stitched them in, I hand basted them in, and then I went in and machine stitched them, and they really look nice. Once you put them on, everything's where it's supposed to be. It looks really great. That's kind of it. The problems started with this dress when I made it in a size 16. Remember how I said that a 14 fits perfectly? A 16 is too big. And when I looked at the measurements for the amount of ease in the pattern, it seemed like it was going to be pretty close to my actual body measurements if I made it in the 14. So that's why I went with the 16, because I didn't want a tight knit dress, but I don't think I was factoring in the amount of stretch in this fabric, which is, there's pretty good stretch in it. So that's kind of where the whole problem started. By the time I realized that, it was too late to correct it. So I just had to go with what I had. Next, I did not gather this side as much as I needed to, because when I read the instructions, it says to gather the elastic between the two dots that are marked on the side. And so that's what I did, but apparently I didn't stretch it quite enough, because it's supposed to pull the elastic so that the skirt is even all the way across. So this is what it looks like. And it's lower on this side than it is on this side. And we're gonna look at that a little bit closer in a second. So that's the first problem. Because that threw off the whole skirt, the skirt is not even on the bottom. There's this weird lump here because it doesn't match up quite right. And then when I was making the neck, I kind of pulled it out, so it's kind of funky. It's kind of stretched in a couple of places, and it's not great. So I do still absolutely love this fabric, but I'm gonna pretty much have to take out these side gathers, redo that, and then I think I'm probably gonna also gather it on the other side so that it looks a little more intentional to be gathered on both sides. And then I need to fix the skirt. So I started putting in the hem before I realized all the problems that were happening. So I've got to rip that all out and start the whole process again. But let me flip this inside out. I'm going to show you some of the technical problems so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. Once the dress is turned inside out, you can really see the sewing flaws without the distraction of the print. That was one of the reasons I didn't notice immediately that there were problems, because I was just sewing along and the print was pretty and busy, and it wasn't very noticeable. Once I put it on, that's when I realized there were problems. So let's look at those in a little more detail. This is the first one. This obviously should be going straight across, and it's not. So if we go around back, pull up this side, then we can get a straight seam. Unfortunately, the pattern instructions did not say make sure that you have it gathered enough so that you have a straight seam. So I didn't think that that would be a problem. I just assumed everything would match up the way it was supposed to. Next, we have these gathers or the ruching along the side of the dress, and it's just not working. I don't know if my elastic's old and it's lost its stretch, or if I just didn't mark it properly or stretch it enough. I'm not sure where that went wrong. I'm using a new technique. I have not done this elastic ruching stretching thing before. So I do need to rip this out in order to get this side pulled up to match. And then I think I'm gonna use some wider elastic next time. This is 1/4 inch wide. It's pretty narrow. I don't think it's giving me the gathering in the way that I think would look better. And so I'm probably gonna use a 1/2 inch wide elastic. Because of the way this seam is here, I think it's longer than it should be. It's creating this weird lump in the side of the dress where the skirt is connected to the bodice. And I'm really thankful that I did not trim this seam like the pattern instructed. I kind of tried it on first and then was like, oh no, this is a disaster. So I do have to take off the skirt. I will still have my seam allowance, so that's good. I do have to rip this all out and start that part again. And then last, because I made the effort of serging the hem before I started making the hem, I didn't realize that the serging was actually going to cause problems, and now I have to rip it all out and start again. But that's okay. I do really love this fabric. It's very soft. It is another lyocell fabric, and I just like it, and I love the print, and I just think it's really fun, and it's a super cute dress if it comes out the way it's supposed to. So that's what we're going to be working on. This is a Butterick pattern, and I have forgotten the number. It is 6680. It is on the table behind the camera, and there are a couple of other variations. The other thing that threw me off is that with the other variations, there is a dropped seam to connect the skirt to the bodice. So I think that even if I would have noticed that, I wouldn't have thought anything of it, because until you really look closely at the version I made, it's not super noticeable that the other two have this angled seam and that the shorter one does not. So more problems, but we're gonna keep going, and I'm gonna show you the last 2 makes from July. This is the other Butterick pattern that I made with these 6 makes. It is 6854, and I've come to the realization that Butterick patterns are not sized exactly the same as Simplicity or McCall's patterns. Now, for the last year and a half, I've pretty much been sewing exclusively with Simplicity or McCall's patterns, and I've kind of gotten used to the sizing, kind of know what to expect, and they do a really good job marking the various points of the pattern so you know what the ease is going to be at the bust, waist, and hips. Butterick, not so much. Plus, I think their patterns have a lot more ease in them than McCall's and Simplicity. So that's just my take on it. This is a size 14 top, okay? And I have it kind of tucked up because once I let it out, you're gonna see that that is crazy long. And if you remember what the pattern envelope looked like, which is right here, this isn't what it looks like on the model. It does not look this long. It is like mid-thigh on her, like a tunic. This is way longer. This is almost knee length on me, and it just doesn't work. So I was really kind of upset about this because it's the very first thing that I made, and it's just enormous. And I did make it in the size that was appropriate for my measurements, and this pattern did not have the ease at the various points on the pattern. So I was kind of like, well, it looks good on her, and you would assume that they were doing it kind of proportionally. So whatever her size was to the proportions of this top, you would think that would work. But it doesn't look good on me. And here's a picture to prove it, because it's really awful. And even if I wear it with leggings, it's just not gonna work. It just doesn't work with my body frame. So thankfully, I have a solution to make this work. So the solution was giving this top to my sister, Anna. This is Anna.
Hey y'all.
And she is obviously taller than I am, and she's a size bigger. So the top actually fit her very well, and she looks more like the model does wearing it on the pattern than I do. So that was my solution for this top. It did turn out well. It was easy to sew. It was just a little bit too big for me. The last make for July was these pants. This is Simplicity 9050, and I really like these pants. I wasn't sure what size I was gonna be, so I made them up in a 16. I basted them all together and tried them on, and they had a nice kind of loose kind of cargo pant feel to them. I was like, great. Took them all apart, put them back together, finished the seams on the inside. I got these pockets looking absolutely gorgeous. They're double stitched. They're exactly where they need to be. There's pockets on the back, which are patch pockets. They are really pretty. And then I put on the waistband, and when it came time to add the elastic, they were too big. And there was no way to make them smaller because the waistband was just not going to work smaller. And even if I cinched them in, then it was going to cinch everything in, and it was going to look weird. So I need to modify a pants pattern because the 16 fit really well from like the hips down, but it was too big from the hips up. So obviously I need to plan on doing some pattern adjustments the next time I make pants, but I'm really proud of these because they turned out really, really well. And because they turned out so very well, I offered them to my sister. As you can see, my sister looks great in these pants. They fit her perfectly. Thankfully, I did not cut off the legs to shorten the length for me because the actual pant legs were the right length for her, and so I just hemmed them up and we were good to go. You can see that there are pockets on the front. They have double stitching. I even put in little belt loops, and then there are also patch pockets on the back, which just, I did a really good job. I'm like so proud of myself for these pants, and I really wish that they fit me, but my sister got another pair of linen pants, so it's still win-win for everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to click like and subscribe to my channel so you never miss a stitch. Until we meet again, happy sewing! Don't go! There's another great video coming up next. You're definitely going to want to watch this one.